Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Takedown Troop, your weekly TNA review show here on the BC WrestlePod Twitch, YouTube, podcasting network conglomeration syndicate thing we do pretty much every single day of the week. I am your host, Mikey, and joining me this evening, of course, is my TNA co-host, Papa Oso himself, Will. So I'm happy to have him back. I went on a solo adventure last week for Valentine's Day, but now the crew is back in full effect. And we are here to bring you this week's episode of TNA from Thursday, February 27th. We will get into all the action that was this episode. Yeah, we are building to sacrifice. Things happened. I'm a fan of some, questionable on others, but we'll get to all of that. But before we dive too deep into the episode, really quickly, just to do a little bit of announcements, if you will. If you like what you see here and you want to know a little bit more and get more inside scoops of everything we got going on, make sure to follow us on the social medias. We got a Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok. And then, of course, you can follow us on YouTube and Twitch to see all our reviews. We pretty much cover everything and anything. We cover all the weekly TV shows, the pay-per-views. We have a podcast once a month where we do all sorts of crazy shenanigans. And you may also see our faces in other places on the internet. So make sure to follow us and stay up to date with all of that. Now that we got all that out of the way, we're just going to dive straight into it. So my initial thoughts about this episode before we go into the play-by-play. Again, I've enjoyed most of the episode. I really enjoyed the action that we got with a lot of the matches, but I do feel that some segments backstage and in the ring kind of dragged a little bit, but still a solid show nonetheless. And we are going to break down everything that went down this week in TNA tonight. So we are going to begin with, this was way too long of a promo for me. I am sorry. Not everyone in the system needs to speak. You could just have Moose come in, do a quick thing. This does set up so the system all trash talk their opponents, which include Matt, Jeff, beating up on Leon Slater last week, all that stuff. And then they are interrupted by the, in which we get an unofficial, official alliance between the system and the. So this is now a 5-man plus Alicia team, faction, whatever you want to call it out here. This was way too long. I am sorry. I was like, this was like the first 10 minutes. I was like, looking at my invisible watch. Okay. Literally, you could have just had Moose talk, Colognes come out, form the relationship. Bam. We did not need every member of the system talking. Each person.
You know me, though. You know me. The system, anytime they come out, it's a freaking news fest. I'm just like, shut up. And this is just not one of them. So when they came out, I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, Nick went on way too long. Dear God.
It was like 10, 15 minutes of the first part of the show. I was like, literally, during this whole entire promo, I could have made a sandwich, checked a couple emails. Within that span of time, I'm like, nah, we're good. And that's exactly what I did during this promo. I made my lunch for work. I ironed my clothes. I did all that. And they were still going. It's not hyperbole. It is literally fact. The whole entire promo, the amount of, also, by the way, the amount of delusion that the system has, I was just like, when, they thinking that they run TNA, I'm like looking around and I'm like, who said that? Like, who thinks that? We know you guys haven't been relevant since you all lost the championships you held, the tag team and the world championship. Now Moose has the championship, but let's be 100% all the way real. I love him to death, but let's be real. Anybody can beat Lexus King. You have to be some
oh my God
kind. Yeah. So you were here for NXT, but I'm just gonna be honest. I was like,
I watched NXT. I watched it, and I was just like, what is this? I mean, even not to talk about another program, but when that match was made, it was like, what kind of stupidity is this? I mean, truly. And then,
just like, why?
Come on. I mean, my grandmother, and she's dead, could beat Lexus King.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they have this alliance. The system has the alliance with the Colognes. After Sacrifice, I'm expecting them to dissolute, and then they be fighting each other. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. It is what it is. We move on from this opening segment, though. Of course, our girls, Spitfire, are interviewed backstage, getting ready for their tag team championship match. I'm kind of mad at commentary for this one for not remembering to say that, because this is for the Knockouts tag titles. And with the added stipulation that the losers become the winners, like personal concierge for 24 hours, which we'll get into that, because that was stuff I actually really enjoyed this episode. Spitfire, Danny Luna, Jody Threat says that there is nothing that the House of Elegance can throw at them because they are going to retain the championship and put those pretty girls in their place. And I'm like, you go, girls. I'm here. Overthrow the matriarchy. I'm just kidding. See, this is the feud I actually want.
Yeah.
For reals. So Leon Slater is backstage. The system come in. No, the system walk through. Leon Slater is still mad of them attacking Leon after the match last week, which he rightly has the right to do so. I would be mad too. And so the system begin arguing with him. Then Matt and Jeff roll up. Everybody starts arguing. Security has to break everything up. I'm like, this is the multi-man feud that I want to see. To put a pin in that, because when we talk about matches that were made for sacrifice after this past episode, yesterday's episode, I have a feeling I know who our remaining team members are going to be for Team Joe Hendry. But more on that in a little bit, because we get into our first match of the evening, which sees Mr. Mike Santana, if you will, taking on a returning, because we haven't seen him in NXT for a hot minute, Oro Mensa. I was so shocked. I was like, where have you been? I have missed you. I was like, I know that theme song when it started playing the Metaphor theme. I was like, oh my gosh, wait.
You know what's so funny is I thought Oro Mensa was gone. I thought Oro Mensa left. That's how sad that is. I didn't even know what happened to him.
That was crazy because he fought Ethan Page and then we didn't hear from him again.
Yeah, and then he was gone. And I was like, did he leave? I mean, we heard nothing until this.
Right? So, hey, you know what? If that means he comes back to NXT television, I'm not going to be mad. I miss Oro. This was a fun match for sure. But ultimately, Mike Santana does pick up the victory here. But again, I missed Oro. I love Mike. So this was a fun one. But then let's get into the juicy bit that happened after this match, because Mustafa Ali they went there with this. I'm like, oh my gosh. So they played this smear campaign video against Mike Santana about him being back on the sauce and him being inebriated and all that stuff. I'm like, oh my God, we're using sobriety as a wrestling storyline. That is wild to me. But somehow it's like, we're kind of like pushing up against the line, but we haven't crossed it yet. I'm telling you right now, if they make Mike Santana pee in a cup, I will lose my mind, but like in the best way possible. I'm like, oh my God, they went there. But somehow I'm not mad at it. Now, obviously, we know that Mike probably, him and Ali talked about this with creative of doing this storyline, doing this angle, because as we all know, Mike Santana is 2 years sober himself. So, and the funny thing is as schmarmy as Ali is playing this heel character, he's like the nicest dude. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's usually like the nicest people that when they play villain, they're like, oh, I'm scared of you when you turn villain because you're way too good at this.
Yeah. That's the great thing about it. You know, as a theater person, I can vouch for this, because as a theater person, as an actor, I absolutely love playing. The villain is a wonderful thing, and it's because you get to play something that you're not, and this is the true sense of it. When you get to play a villain, and I'm sorry, I'm going on my actor soapbox. When you get to play a villain, you get to be when you play the hero in the story, the hero is already set. Like the hero this is all they do. They're the good guy. The bad guy or the villain, the heel, whatever you want to call it, you get to create so much more than the hero gets to, because the hero has to be like the Boy Scout or the sort of, dare I say, anti-hero if you go like the Batman route or you go the Superman route, depending. But the villain gets to be like unhinged, and it's wonderful. So this man, Mustafa Ali, is playing like the best villain I think that we've seen in a while. Like, he is playing a true villain. Not a heel. He is a villain. I don't care what anyone says about vocabulary. He is a villain. plain and simple, because he is literally using Mike Santana's weaknesses against him as weapons. That's the idea. The whole sobriety thing. That's a weapon. He has literally weaponized Mike Santana's Achilles heel. He's weaponized it. It's his kryptonite. I mean, he's literally like Lex frickin' Luthor.
I was about to say, this is giving Lex Luthor vibes right here of how he is assassinating the character of Mike Santana. And I am here with it, which ultimately leads after this scathing, campaign video of Mike Santana looking for Ali backstage, runs into the cabinet of not the good hands, the great hands, apparently, what we're calling them now, and Tasha Steelz. And Mike Santana tells the three of them, is like, you better they're like, can we take a message for you, Mr. Santana? Yeah, you tell your boy that I'm looking for him, so he better come find me later. And I'm like, Mike Santana is on the warpath, and I'm here for it.
All I know is this picture of Mike Santana has got me kind of warm.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously.
You're welcome.
It's like, oh, hello.
I mean, he is Puerto Rican, so just
he
saying.
Is indeed.
We talked about it like only 3 weeks ago when Ali signed with TNA. We're like, I hope he does more with this campaign, like presidential villain heel character. And within 3 weeks, I'm like, I think this might be my favorite story right now.
I freaking love what they are doing between these two men. I absolutely love it. And it's making me hate Ali more and love Mike Santana even more. And I love that.
Making us root for our unsung hero of Mike Santana to inevitably overthrow Ali whenever that is. So this is going to be a fun story to tell. And I, for one, am so excited for it. I wish I could say the same thing for what we got next. Oh, Tessa. Tessa. Here's the thing. I know we need to try to give her the benefit of the doubt because she's coming out here and wrestle, but the wrestling crowds are not going to let her. So this is Tessa's first time in 4 years since last being in TNA, wrestling in TNA. And this match was she either had to wrestle this week or she was fired. This is essentially was a squash match that she won. She got a new theme song. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was all in Spanish. I was just like, I forget Tessa is part Latina, I think. But we know she can speak Spanish. Hell, she was in CMLL last time we saw her too. But ultimately, this was just a squash match. Tessa is feeding into the, crowd booing her and everything, becoming a mega heel in the doing all this. So,
my thing about this, and I don't know, I like Tessa because I did not know about all of the past stuff that happened. But I can tell you, but now that I do know about it, I'm kind of less on her side. And then there's a reason. And the reason is she hasn't apologized for it. There's been no attempt to, when they brought her to TNA, they just said, oh, we'll just ignore it. And it's 2025, folks. People don't let that slide.
Nope. And wrestling fans did not let it go, and they made it very vocal at Genesis.
Oh my God, did they ever? I was just
Will, you were in the crowd when it happened.
I know. I was just when she came out, it was immediate. It wasn't even like a woo. Oh, wait a minute. No, it was like boo. I mean, it was all the people around me. I did not, because again, like I said, I didn't know enough about her yet to do that. But I was very uncomfortable with the unspoken violence that was coming from the audience. I mean, it was bad, and I was just like, oh wow. I was like, what the heck? So I literally had to go. You guys told me a little bit, but then I had to go back and look. I was like, good Lord. And then I was like, oh, okay. I see why. I see that. I was like, okay. And, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt because I love her as a wrestler. I think she's great. They need to do something she needs to come out and apologize or something. Because, the new theme song is great. I love it. But you paint a turd, it's still a turd. You can change her makeup, you can change her song, you can change everything. But it's still her. It's not going to change until you do something to change it.
And Will, you bring up a very critical and valid point too, because, even though he's not on the TNA panel with us, I do want to bring up one of our other co-hosts, Macho, who does NXT with us. I mean, he's shared with both of us before. As a wrestling fan, he's torn and he's caught in the middle because on the one hand, and like you said, Tess is a fantastic wrestler and I think she's really great in the ring. The lack of not apologizing in public and for everything that went down last time she was in TNA, that's making it really hard because again, I'm a person that believes in second chances and I want to see Tessa have a redemption. But there's got to be something that Tessa and TNA have to do this time around to make sure that, she addresses what happened because Lord, listen, I love Chelsea Green so much and I'm kind of here for her not letting it go until everybody gets an apology. But I was like, we have yet to get that. So I want to support Tessa and I want to like her as a wrestling personality and a character. But until she does the work that she needs, like apologizing and making amends, because Lord knows, like one of the big things in the 12-step program for anything is making amends is like one of the big towards the final end before you can start to heal everybody that was involved in this and to heal yourself as well. But she has yet to do that. So anyways, Tessa, as I said, she ends up winning this, essentially what was a squash match. But we also have Masha Slamovich backstage watching because we're possibly teasing Tessa and Masha in some capacity down the line. And before Gia is able to interview Masha, she gets blindsided by Cora Jade. And Cora tells Masha that instead of watching Tessa, she needs to be paying attention to the person who's going to take her TNA Knockouts championship at Sacrifice in 2 weeks. Spoiler alert, I don't think Cora is going to do that, but
No.
I do have to say, I love the curls in this picture, Cora. You look great, girl. I was like, look at these beach curls. You go, girl. I love you.
I love her.
It's so crazy to me because we have kind of successfully pulled Roxanne and Cora apart since Cora's like doing stuff in TNA right now. So I was just like, good on NXT and TNA because both women are shining respectively what they're currently doing. So I love it. So, Corey, you look great, girl. Tessa, we got some work to do. Yeah. In the words of Ricky Ricardo, you got some explaining to do. Anyways, I don't want Elijah or Joe to turn on each other. This is filling the missing shape piece in my heart.
I agree.
Also, I'm just going to put it out there. You were talking about Mike Santana. Usually, these are not my type of guys, but more specifically Elijah, that the system runs things in TNA. And I'm just like, in what universe?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Okay.
I also love that Elijah's just going to be walking around the whole entire time, whether it's in the ring or backstage, just holding a random guitar everywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody get this man a mask so he can become El Kabong.
That's funny.
No, but I love this budding relationship. And TNA, I swear to God, if you break these two up, I will never forgive you.
I know.
It took me forever to get over the pain that was us losing Joya. Do not do this to Elijah and Joe.
No, I know, because I like Elijah. I like him a lot.
Right? And it's only like the second episode he's in TNA. But again, I'm familiar with him from his previous work in WWE when he was Elias. And but same character is just going by Elijah. Not necessarily a factor into whether Elijah is a wrestler, but he is also a born-again Christian. So he does Facebook streams sometimes, doing Bible studies and all that. So I was like, you go, Elijah. You do what brings you peace in the world.
Amen to that.
But but with wrestling though, I was just like, yes, please don't tear these two apart because I love them. Elisha, we're gonna talk about you when we get to the tail end of the show, love. So just stay with us for a little bit, Elijah.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay, can I just say, AJ Francis aside, this is the Casey Navarro I love to see. I love wrestling. Like this was a really good match, and Casey did really good against Steve. And I have to say, Steve, I'm kind of digging this new energy we're giving with your wrestling. I was just like, you're playing to the crowd. You're slowly becoming more babyface. I was like, you know what? I am here for this version of Steve Macklin. I'm here for this.
I am
like,
too.
You go, Steve. I loved it.
I do too. Because when I first came in, Macklin was a bad guy. He was a heel. I mean, he was like full on. And then that whole him and Josh thing happened. And then we started seeing the slow turn. And now he's like, I hated him back then. Now I absolutely love him. And I'm just like, gosh, I love this version of Macklin. I love it, And I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a good heel, good bad guy. But I just didn't like him as a bad guy. I think he's much stronger as a face than he was as a heel. And I agree with you. And I will have to say, I did thoroughly enjoy Casey Navarro in this match. I mean, I really do wish Casey was his own man. It was a single wrestler without a sidekick or whatever,
Right.
a hype man or whatever the hell AJ Francis is. But I really enjoyed this match actually.
Well, we talked about it 2 weeks ago when we had that live episode of TNA, because we both said that we did not like this performative, and excuse our term for this, but like the showman monkey with the little top hat on that Casey Navarro was doing with that stupid penthouse segment. That was so dumb. And I was like, I was like, just let Casey be what he was when he came into TNA. I mean, he could still be part of First Class, but just let him be more of the arrogant, like, I'm the shit, so to speak. We're far enough in, I could curse. Like,
curse it, girl, curse it.
Yeah, so this is the Casey I want to see all the time because he is a fantastic wrestler. I just feel that he gets so bogged down with the character that he's playing that sometimes we forget that he's a fantastic wrestler. Unfortunately, that's not enough because Steve Macklin, tag him and bag him, picks up the victory here. But I will say, Macklin still has some unresolved issues because towards like the last 10 minutes of this match, we had Eric Young in the Northern Armory watching, and then they do a stare down together after the match. So we know that the collision course is happening. If we don't get anything at Sacrifice, I'm calling it now. Eric Young and Steve Macklin will do something at Rebellion, and selfishly, I hope that's the case because I'm going to be there. I want to see these two fight. It's going to be good. And I get to take my mom with me. I was like, all right, so here's what you missed. Military man, cult leader, fight.
I'm really kind of getting tired of this, whatever this is.
Between Macklin and Eric, or the fact that he's leading?
The whole concept of this.
Okay.
Like, with the whole thing with Josh was in this position and the Northern Armory and all that. I'm kind of over the Northern Armory aspect of this. Let those boys freaking wrestle.
Or rebrand them. Don't call them Northern Armory.
Yeah, something. I mean, it should have ended with Josh. It really should have. When Josh left, the Northern Armory should have dissolved. These guys should have become their own tag team, their own individual or their own group. And because right now, I don't know who you are. I mean, I see, Mr. Young in front of you all the time. But other than that, I don't know who the hell you are. Like, why should I care? And I don't. I'm really kind of getting to that point. And I'm just like, this again? I mean, that's where it's at for me. It's like every time they come out, it's like, this again? Give me something new. I need something other than the same crap that you've been giving us. If you gotta do your thing, get out there and do your thing. This whole stare down thing is getting old. Like, first of all, you look like an idiot. I mean, he did. I'm sorry, but he did. I was just like,
I think my biggest issue with this whole thing is, I mean, granted, I honestly think that TNA is trying to compile something because Josh Levy threw a lot of wrenches into the plan, but it's been about 2 weeks. I need Eric Young and Steve Macklin to actually come face to face and do some promo or physical altercation or something, because that we're kind of dancing around and towing the line, but nothing has really given me like, this is the origin or the genesis, pun intended, of whatever is about to go down. Like, we're kind of tiptoeing. I feel like we're in the prologue of this book that is Eric Young versus Macklin, but we haven't gotten into the first like starting event or to begin the rising action to the climax of the story, so to speak.
It's only been 2 weeks.
Well, because last week, okay, so it's been like 3 weeks, but okay, so let's backtrack. It's really only been 3 weeks since Josh left. Last week when I covered TNA, Eric Young of the Northern Armory did a promo in which, they want Steve Macklin to join them. They called Steve Macklin out. He didn't show up. And, Eric Young's like, you know what? I will wait for my answer. And the crazy thing is that Eric Young wasn't demanding Macklin to join. It's like, genuinely, it's like, hey, you're my friend. But in like a very like gaslighting cult leader status way, if that makes any sense. And so now this is really the first time that we've had these two stare down each other. But what I need now is I need them to come face to face on the mic or physically, come to blows to start off whatever this story you want to tell with them. Cause we're just tiptoeing around. And I think now it's time to pull the trigger.
It's funny. I asked that question because it literally feels like this has been going on forever.
And it's only been 3 weeks.
See, that's the case, then you need to do something.
Yeah. Add a little bit of spice. Do something like
Something.
I mean, I love all the talent involved. I hate the story trope. And I can say that because I write sometimes, okay? But I hate this story trope and I've never really liked it in any type of media. So hopefully TNA will do a pivot to some sort to get this where it wants it to be. Because I think this, on paper, I'm excited for this feud, but I need the story to match up with my excitement of the matches we're going to get.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so let's go. We move on. Oh, wait, back it up. I try to get a flattery picture, but it's really hard when you do face to face like this. But first of all, this is a random side note. If it wasn't so expensive, I would rock the TNA like jacket and pant combo that all the wrestlers in TNA are wearing. I was like, they look nice, they look clean, they look great. But I was like, I wasn't going to pay that much to pre-order. But anyways, Tessa's walking backstage. I'm trying to say this without sounding really bad when I say this, but this was not a good back and forth because I think Tessa was trying too hard. And also, I say this about other wrestlers and other promotions when English is not their native language. Let them cut backstage segments and promos in the native tongue and do subtitles because they be bitching. When Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE was anime villain for a little bit and he cut promos in Japanese, how much more intimidated I was by Japanese Sith Lord Shinsuke Nakamura than making him trying to say heel promos in English? I was like, Stop trying to Americanize these wrestlers. But this is exactly what I got. I did not like the segment, but Santino does come in before things get too out of hand. And we get our third match made for Sacrifice, which we will see Tessa Blanchard taking on Li Yang Li. With I thought her and Rosemary were going to fight for a little bit longer, but we might loop around back to that at some point. So I am excited. I'm sad though because I'm like Tessa's probably going to win, and that makes me sad.
Here's my thing. You know what I think this is? I really do, and I could be wrong, but this is my conspiracy theory. I think, I agree with you. I was kind of hoping that she and Rosemary were going to be going for a little while. But you know what? They're trying to keep her and making her like, look at her. She's like running through everybody. She's amazing. And, blah, blah, blah. She's this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking it's not working. They're still going to boo her when she comes out. I'm amazed she's not getting death threats.
Listen, first and foremost, wrestling fans, even if you don't like Tessa, like nobody deserves death threats. So let's not get that crazy.
Not. But especially, I am very surprised.
Yeah, so I'm just like, is the in-ring probably going to be great? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like again, because of other things outweighing the in-ring performances, it just it hurts because on paper, in-ring ability, I think this match is going to slap, but like again, like I don't have to bring up what I said earlier when we talked about Tessa's squash match because it's still going to be the same thing. You can't keep sweeping things under the rug because eventually the rug is just going to fall off the pile of scandal, and then it's just something's gonna break the dam, and all hell's gonna break loose. I'm just saying. So y'all need to get ahead of this. But this is the third match made for Sacrifice. Again, on paper, in ring should be fun, but yeah, controversy is making it really hard for me to root for Tessa in this one.
Yep.
So, and also TNA, please don't just discard Liang Li and Rosemary. Let's loop back around after Sacrifice because I would love to see Rosemary and Liang Li in something for Rebellion. Just saying.
I agree.
Like this shit, I love the match at Genesis. This one was just as equally as fun. I don't care what nobody says. I'm so happy that Ash is in TNA because like the creative freedom that she is allowed to do with her character is just so much fun. And the fact that Heather is playing into this as well. But this was a TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championship match. Spitfire defending their titles against the House of Elegance. And then, of course, loser becomes personal concierge for 24 hours to the winning team. This was a fantastic tag team match. I thought all four ladies brought it. I love that we are now actually not just relegating the Knockouts tag titles to pre-shows only anymore, but now they are being treated with actual storylines and funds. But let's be honest, these are really the only two Knockouts tag teams we have. But hey, I'm not tired of it quite yet, so I'm still enjoying the ride. Spitfire not only retain their titles, but the House of Elegance has to become Spitfire's personal concierges for 24 hours. And man, they did not wait long.
So awesome.
These were the backstage segments I actually really like.
Yeah.
I know some people aren't here for like the campiness of wrestling, but this is exactly what this was fun. And it also gives the House of Elegance girls somewhere to go. It's like, we were humiliated, so we're going to beat their butts later. So,
yeah,
but
exactly.
this segment was so funny with the knee pads and having them to have to wash all that. Also, Ash, love the polka dot dress. It's baller.
Yep. Let's take a moment and let's talk about the silliness in wrestling. I think, things like this, the silliness, and because back in my day, that's all we had. I mean, wrestling was silly. I mean, it was pure at times. It was pure comic gold, and I love this. See, and the reason I love stories like this, especially these sort of comedic bits, is because it creates backstory. It creates like these two groups hate each other. That's what these are for. And they're doing it in a fun way. Because to us, it's like, haha, funny. I'm loving it. To the characters, it's humiliating. And that's where the rivalry deepens. It's like, you humiliated us on television. We're going to come in and we're going to destroy you. And that's like, yes. And so these people who get all boo-hooey butthurt over the comedic bits of wrestling, first of all, you need to go back and watch like old school wrestling. It's nothing but, these sort of like cheesy, like costumes and props. And most of that happened in ring. We didn't get a whole lot of like backstage stuff. A lot of the comedy happened in ring. And I love stuff like this. And I think that, do I want like an entire episode of this? Absolutely. Give me an entire episode of silly shit like this. And I would love it. I'm not saying give it to me every week, but if it was a special fun comedy night, I'd be like that sort of thing. And you gave me.
Remember we had 1 week of TNA wrestling during the holidays where it was like the spoof of like the old 80s wrestling. Yeah. All of our wrestlers in TNA dressed as like the most out. Listen, we had Josh Alexander as a lumberman, like a lumberjack. We had Savannah Evans as the Michael Jackson werewolf. Like,
oh my God.
We had Chris Sabin as a news reporter.
It was so good. And I wish that they would do that again. I really do. I wish we would do more of that, because that is, not only is it just fun, campy, but we get to see the wrestlers have fun. 9 times out of 10, when we're watching these weekly episodes, they are at work. This is work for them, and I'm not saying they don't have fun doing their work, but it's like when you get to see like Eric Young step out and he's playing like the nerd, and he's like, and he's just being silly and stupid and fun.
Yeah. Or, I forgot. Remember when Deanna, when she was still with the company, she played the Southern Belle damsel in distress? I was scared because she played it way too well. Or Ace Austin played like this badass greaser. I was like,
yep,
this is getting out of hand. This is crazy.
It was great. And see, and it's not just, things. And I have slowly become aware that wrestling fans are the absolute worst fans in the world.
Welcome to the club. Yeah. No,
because back in the day, and I know I keep saying back in my day, but back in the day, we didn't have this. I don't remember a lot of this sort of wrestling fans being so negative. I mean, yeah, you had your opinions, but I've never in my life been like, oh, I hate when they do that. Oh, I hate that. See, back then, it was like, oh, we're going to watch some wrestling. Let's wait. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. You're going to see like, Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming out dressed as a freaking clown. And he's going to get his ass handed to him by, Rowdy Roddy Piper, this, that. And it's pure silliness sometimes. I absolutely love it.
I do too. And I'm like, hello, Macho. I think you and Will are going to become the bestest of friends. because this is a conversation that me and him always have the whole the time when it comes to fans. I was just like, listen, Will, I have expressed this both in our private messages and on the air too. Like my motto as a wrestling fan is that of Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret is like what you like, don't be a dick. Like that's all I ask. But and again, we could spend a whole nother episode, a whole nother podcast talking and dissecting this. I mean, Dr. Will over here is doing a whole entire thesis paper about wrestling in general, which by the way, if you would like to participate in this, leave a comment below because we are collecting data. Can you imagine? This is how we can get BC WrestlePod get a doctorate doing this.
I would love it. I mean, it's funny because you mentioned it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I've got a decent, I say a decent amount. I've got a small focus group currently. And I need like a much larger group,
right? Of course.
Data. So yeah, you let us know and we'll drop the link. Hey,
seriously, collect this information, and literally when we get it to a place, I would love to actually take that paper and create a special like multi-part series going over it and like narrating the whole paper and talking about it. We will have a documentary. I'm just kidding, but all to say is that I love silly wrestling. This was the start of it. We're going to come back to these ladies later in the evening with some even more funny stuff. We all knew this match wasn't going to happen the way that it needed to. Literally, we get entrances. Sami Callihan hits Mance with the chair, DQ. And then, but listen, I love me a good psycho on psycho fight in a brawl. Look at this. Security can't even pull them apart.
I love it too.
They were fighting more aggressive than the ladies. They're like pulling hair and everything. I was like, don't pull my hair. But I already knew this match wasn't going to go the way that it needed to, but I'm glad it didn't because, Will, this sets up our fourth match for Sacrifice. We're getting Sami Callihan versus the Southern Psychopath and real life partner of, Steph DeLander, Mance Warner. And this is going to be a street fight at Sacrifice. I'm like, make them bleed.
You're not kidding. I want to see blood on that mat.
Yes, give me the bleeding. And listen, Mance, you are a GCW wrestler. And Sami has also had his fair share of crazy hardcore matches. Give me light tubes, give me door bridges, bring in the GCW to TNA.
Heck yeah.
Both of these men are going to be walking out in crimson. And somehow I feel like I also love weird underlying tension that Steph has over these two. It's just like, yes, bleed for me. Steph, I'm just saying right now, you should make a shirt that says bleed for me.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Like her face on it and be like, bleed for me. Have her be an Elvira Baker. How's your head game? I haven't had any complaints. Bleed for me. No, I'm excited for this street fight. I really, really am. Listen, of everybody here on the BC WrestlePod Review Squad, I have the propensity for the weirdest sense of violence. I get pleasure watching pain in people. I might be a masochist, but that's a whole different podcast that we could touch those issues with. So let's move on before I say something else I'm going to regret. Ooh, thanks, Will, for dropping that in the chat. So if y'all want to fill out this information, just click the link below. So the wrestling survey. So please do. It's great.
And I know I misspelled survey. Leave me alone.
It's okay. You know who else would probably misspell the word survey? Frankie Kazarian, because look at this face.
Oh my God.
I knew he was going to win. It's just something in my bones told me. But I'm not as mad. It was because more of a distraction from Wesley, and then Tyson and Tyreek come out after the match to beat up on Ace Austin. I really have nothing much to say about the match. Like it happened. Frankie Kazarian won. He's still the call your shot gauntlet holder right now, so who knows when he's going to cash that little thing in. But again, Wes and Tyson and Tyreek beat up Ace Austin. Rascals come out for the save, continuing to build to that 6-man tag team match at Sacrifice. I have nothing else to say. Let's move on.
Agreed.
Okay, before this, though, the fact that Heather and Ash were talking about the small dog and it turned out to be Steph's dog, and she literally threatened to murderize these ladies for talking crap about her dog. I laughed so hard. But then we come to find out that the actual dog that they have to walk and pick up the poop after is Jody Thread's big old lovable Cooper over here. Is so good. But Ash playing into like she's about to get dragged across the floor by this big dog bit had me cackling. And then of course you fast forward later where the bags are in place. The House of Elegance girls are over it. So they're going to get in the car with, Spitfire, but they have to sit in the bag with the dog. And then it's like it farted, apparently, according to Heather, and smells like boo-boo. It's This was funny as hell. And honestly, girls, the 2 backstage segments we got with the personal concierge for 24 hours was probably my favorite bits this episode.
Yep.
So freaking good. I loved it. It was so funny. I just want to punch his face.
Every time.
So Ryan Nemeth gets on the mic out, tells us that my brother, I can never say brother normal again. I blame you, Ryan Nemeth. But Nick Nemeth returning at Sacrifice in 15 days. That is all. This is a lot of meat in the ring. So this is the main event time. We have the Hardys teaming up with NXT's Oba Femi taking on the System, which is Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards. I'm going to be honest, Will. The match did not go the way I thought it was going to. Now, Matt Hardy got pinned, so there's that. But I'm just like, Femi losing? That was wild to me. I was like, he didn't get pinned, but his team lost. He lost. What? Sorry.
I don't know, but I agree with you. I know. I was very surprised that Oba Femi lost. I mean, and that one of the Hardys got.
I mean,
pinned.
It's crazy to me. Oh, okay. So I'm like, oh, please don't do the System and the Hardys again. We closed that chapter already.
Yeah.
But so even though he didn't get pinned, Oba Femi technically lost, but I kind of not upset about it because it makes it more intriguing going into NXT's Roadblock when Moose and Oba fight for the NXT championship. Spoiler alert, I don't think Moose is going to get that championship from Oba, but it should be a good fight though.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll talk afterwards too, because I want your thoughts on this Julia versus Stephanie championship versus championship match. Listen, those girls are going to brutalize each other and I'm here for it, but I'm like, does it have to be for a winner take all? But I digress. So speaking of winner take all though, because the System continue the fights and the beatdowns, and everybody gets pulled apart, Santino comes out, and we get our 5th and our 6th match made for Sacrifice first. Because Jeff Hardy has 2 wins over Moose and has pinned Moose twice in some form or fashion, we are getting a ladder match for the TNA championship. I'm just like, I was like, you just wanted to give Jeff Hardy a reason to flip off things, and I'm not upset about it. But Moose is no slouch either. I have seen that man jump off ladders, and it's crazy as well. I'm hoping that he spears Jeff Hardy off a ladder. That'd be crazy.
Oh my God.
But Jeff Hardy is challenging for the TNA X Division champion. Now, the funny thing is originally the next match that got announced is a 10-person tag team match, which is going to be the System, which is JDC, Eddie Edwards, and Brian Myers teaming up with the Colons, taking on Joe Hendry, Matt Hardy, and 3 partners that they can find. So in a digital exclusive, Matt and Joe found their first partner, and, he appears in this little graphic. So right now, it is Joe Hendry, Matt Hardy, and Elijah, as well as 2 other team members taking on the System and the Colognes. Do you want to hear my picks for this?
Yeah.
I think, so Joe, Matt, and Elijah are already on the team. I think team player number 4 obviously has to be Leon Slater. I think Leon has to be on this team because he'd be having beef with the System too. Now, as far as for the 5th one, that I'm truly at a loss of who it could be. Because I'm thinking, everybody kind of has beef with the System, honestly. But I'm trying to think, I'm like, maybe an NXT person, who knows? I don't know who the 5th person is going to be. Maybe it's a debuting person or a one-time thing of an independent wrestler. Oh my gosh, I don't think it would happen. Could you imagine though if it was Chris Bay as team player number 5?
God, wouldn't that be awesome?
Listen, if that was the 5th person and he returned, I would literally cry my eyes out.
I would too. Oh my God.
I'd be sending you videos. We'll be like, I don't have any more tissues. My tears won't stop. But for sure, Leon Slater is a part of Team Joe Hendry, for sure.
Right. He wouldn't be. And
then we probably won't get the 5th member until actual Sacrifice. So we'll see what happens. But with those 2 matches made, we are now at a total of 6 matches for Sacrifice so far, which is looking to be really good. We have Team Joe Hendry versus Team System in this 10-man tag team match. We have a ladder match for the championship. Tessa versus Liang Li. Sammy versus Mance in a street fight. We have Masha versus Cora. And, of course, the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley, Tyson, and Tyreek. So, probably get one more match, babe. I hope Mike Santana does something at Sacrifice, because I'm like, actually, no. The story we're telling with him and Ali, I think is better at Rebellion.
Yeah.
We don't need to rush it. We can wait until Rebellion for that one. But that does bring us to the end of our TNA review. Sad. But that is okay. Overall, while I had a lot of questions and some things didn't really click for me, I still really enjoyed TNA. So Elegance and Spitfire, y'all get my MVP award this week for making me laugh.
Yep.
It was so good. But that's going to be it for us here at Takedown Troop Review. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I will be back next Friday to review TNA. Will, unfortunately, has better things to do. Just kidding. Will not be here, unfortunately. He's so mad at me. I'm about to get it afterwards. No, but Will has other obligations that he needs to take care of, so I will be running a solo review. Or potentially, maybe I can ask Adolfo because he owes me a couple of favors. But I digress. But TNA will be back next week, whether it's just me or have a temporary co-host for the week. But I am super excited to come back to talk about TNA as we get closer and closer to, Sacrifice. But if you want to stay tuned for other BC Pod stuff we got going on, tomorrow night is the Elimination Chamber for W. And Sunday we will be doing a review of Raw. And then Monday, in about 48 hours or so, you can see myself, the Professor, Minnie, Jesse, and Macho, the five of us, review the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and talk about everything that went down in the land that is Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So it's going to be a fun one. But then you can also catch us next week for AEW as we get closer to Revolution pay-per-view, CMLL and NXT on Wednesday, again TNA next Friday, and then Saturday, Adolfo and I will be doing MLW's Intimidation Games, but doing a live watch-along. And then Sunday the 9th is our Revolution pay-per-view watch-along as well, because it is a big 4. So we busy. Spring is locked and loaded, and it is about to get nuts. So it was announced earlier today when I popped on for the Nick Wrestling Podcast Happy Hour. But stay tuned to all our social medias for Podmania 2025. BC WrestlePod is teaming up with 2 other podcasting networks, and it's about to go ham. It's about to get crazy. I'm so excited. But stay tuned for more information as we get closer to WrestleMania Hell Week, which my co-hosts don't know this, but I have the form ready to go, so I'm dropping it in a couple of weeks to everybody. So y'all gonna sign up for some stuff, but me and Will got to get up on out of here. So from us here at Takedown Troop and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later for more wrestling goodness, but until then, adios and
thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.